Welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for May 22nd. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
So what do you got?
Well, I'm going to start off with my Marvel books here. I'm looking at Avengers number 12. Great book. This is in a stack every month. A really fun book. This is written by Jonathan Hickman. They'd done some weird things there for a while where they were exploring some other characters and setting things up, and they're talking about the White Event and everything. But now they're in the Savage Land, right? Is that where they ended up? They had to get... I know there was all kinds of weird stuff going on, and they had, the character from Supreme Power had shown up, right? He's building a lot of interesting things, like taking, getting all those new universe characters, taking that Squadron Supreme stuff, which was Marvel Max before. So I don't know, so maybe it's a different universe, because they're dealing with a different universe anyway, right? So they're saying that he's from the different universe, although it's probably not the Ultimates, but...
Yeah, it's not the Supreme Power Hyperion, it's not the old Hyperion, this is yet another alternate universe Hyperion.
I knew he was going to get somewhere. His stuff is usually a little heady and a little trippy, and I feel like we're definitely getting there now.
Yeah.
First few issues, it was kind of like, all right, where are you going? And then he kicked right into it.
It's weird. The pace and structure of this reminds me of the Manhattan Projects, which is introducing characters, getting your cast kind of on the table, and now that we've sort of got everybody in place, we're just starting to get the big picture, but we're only getting pieces of it still.
But I don't mind that
format
of telling stories. Yeah. He's building his universe, he's doing what he needs to do. I mean, this is episodic.
Right.
So if all you had were explosions and battles the whole time, you'd tire of it quick. I would.
This is how he tells the story. This is what he did on the Fantastic Four.
Which was an amazing run. I wish he was still writing that.
What he's done on other things. But speaking of that.
Speaking of such things, I'm looking at Fantastic Four number 8. I do think Matt Fraction's been doing a great job. I mean, I thought Jonathan Hickman had some pretty big shoes, there for Fraction to fill. But it looks like he hasn't just dropped off the stuff that Hickman was doing. Right. I mean, he's doing his own thing, but he's also, that other stuff happened. Ben Grimm had taken that formula, and that's what it looks like they're dealing with here is, Ben Grimm's, is this maybe an origin? We got the
he turns human one day every year,
but this looks like a backstory here.
Yeah.
So it's like some older stuff. So maybe he's telling a story of him being younger and when he was Ben before he became the Thing, and maybe it'll lead right back into him, losing those powers for his day. Who knows? Tough to tell. Looks like he's punching some mobster. I don't even know. Interesting stuff though. I think this book has been really cool. I like what they're doing with it. It's kind of one-and-done stories, as we said, which I like. You don't get much of that in comic books anymore. It's getting more like... It felt like television for the longest time was just one-done episodes. Now they started, HBO and everything moved to that larger format where it's like a 10-hour movie, But then even regular network TV is starting to do where it's a bigger story, but you get your kind of one-and-done. That story's done in one episode, but those threads that they planted are going to come back. And comics are starting to do that sort of stuff. So at least this one, I feel like, is doing that.
I'm glad to see that. I think there's a lot of books that don't pay off month to month very well.
Agreed.
But it's good to see that someone is actually taking the time and making the effort to give you a complete story in one issue. As much as I appreciate what Hickman does and things like that, it's nice to kind of put an issue down and go, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't want every comic I'm reading to be that. I need a little bit of variety.
A good balance there.
Next, I've got Daredevil number 26. This has been a great book. This is just a solid comic book, and it looks like we've got Javier Rodriguez is doing color art, and it says Mark Waid and Chris Samney are the storytellers. Samney did the cover. I mean, it does look similar to Samney, a little different. They got Daredevil in a red and yellow costume. Kind of interesting. He looks more like a video game character with a weird hood, but kind of interesting. This has just been a fun book. It's been really, really cool. I think Mark Waid's doing some great storytelling here, which, as I've said before, the book needed. Yeah. It needed a little fresh air breathed into it and to have a little fun because it had been dark for so long. So now it's been light for a couple of years, and it's been cool. Then I'm looking at, this is kind of a weird one here. But it looked intriguing to me. I'm looking at Occupy Comics number 1. This is published by Black Mask. This is something that you got a lot of heavy hitters on this book. We got Alan Moore, David Lloyd, Art Spiegelman, Molly Krabappel, who I'm not really sure who that is. And maybe it's Crabapple, but I'm just going to go with the Simpsons format and call it Krabappel. Joshua Hale, Vyalkov, Ben Temple Smith, James DeMatteis, Charlie Adlard. like I said, some heavy hitters on this book, and it looks like the money is going to go to some Occupy-related cause. So I don't know if all the stories are necessarily, just Occupy-related, big business bullying the little guy, but it looks interesting, and it's got some great talent on it. That's a great picture by David Lloyd. It was originally printed for something involving Occupy. There's some great Ben Templesmith stuff. So it just looks really cool, something different, something odd. I wanted to check that one out.
And something that goes to help a cause.
Yes. Yes, and if you believe in that cause, you should pick up that book.
Indeed.
Then I'm looking at Revival number 10. I really like this book. I think Mike Norton's artwork is fantastic here. Tim Seeley is doing some great writing. It's a really odd book. And it's starting to get more into, it started out with all the revivalist stuff, and now you're finding a little bit more about our characters and where things are going. And I think it's a strong book. Did this one also get talked about TV? Did they get a TV deal?
They didn't. They pitched it, and then I think ABC is just doing their own version of it. Like they did.
Is that all ABC does? I mean, yeah, they did the same thing. They just pretty much stole Fables, and that was that. So
yeah, pretty much.
What can you do? Next, I'm looking at The Five Ghosts of Fabian Gray, number 3 of 5. This is done by just a different creative team, Frank J. Barbier and Chris Mooneyham. And this art is phenomenal. I mean, just absolutely blows me away. And you were telling me that this was something that was self-published, and they did what, New York Comic Con?
They self-published the first issue, and then got picked up by Image after that.
Really, really neat idea for a story. And, this guy essentially has all these powers from different sort of... warriors.
Iconic characters in literature, almost.
Yeah. Really cool, neat stuff. But again, the artwork is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The colors look great here. It looks like we got some monsters in this one. If you're not reading this book, I don't know why. You should really be picking this one up because it's some solid stuff. And, what's great about Image, as we've said before, is you're essentially self-publishing. So these guys get to self-publish with a little bit more clout.
Right.
And Image gives you so much variety because there's so many different things. It's not like Marvel or DC. You're getting superheroes.
Right.
Image, you could get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I'm looking at Dia de los Muertos, number 3. Who's our creative team on this one? We got a story by Alexander Grecian, story by Curtis J. Wiebe, and a story by Joe Keating. Now, I'm not sure who Joe Keating is. The name does ring a bell. What else has he done?
He's done a lot of stuff at Image.
Curtis Wiebe has done Peter Panzerfaust and Green Wake, and Alexander Grecian did Proof. So we got guys that have worked with Riley before. We got guys that have done some great stuff with Riley that got me into the stuff in the first place. This Dia de los Muertos has been cool. It's 3 little stories about Day of the Dead, and just I like the approach, like little horror stories, kind of, and Riley's artwork is just phenomenal. I'm always supporting his stuff, obviously. And, and if you like him also, there was just last week they put out that Superman Adventures or whatever that had a Bizarro story by him. And that's some of the best stuff I've ever seen.
Cool.
Just amazing. But this book is also really, really fun. And if you haven't picked up issues 1 and 2, it doesn't matter. They do not connect together at all. If there are writers in those other issues that you want, the first issue had a story by Dirk Manning in it, and that was a really strong story. The second issue had some other guys that I'm drawing a blank on right now. And this one, Alex Grecian and Curtis Wiebe. So
very cool.
So what are you looking at?
I'm going to start off with Iron Man 258.3. This, I guess, is a weekly book with David Michelini and Bob Layton. Also, was it Dave Ross? This takes place right after Iron Man 258. It's kind of around the time of the Armor War. They've reunited the guys who kind of made Iron Man famous, who put him on the map, to do kind of a classic old school Iron Man story that takes place in between issues. We've got Justin Hammer, we've got Rhodey, we've got Iron Man in one of my favorite versions of his armor. All of it inked by Bob Layton. Looks like we got some of the War Machine and Silver Centurion. So yeah, just some good old-fashioned throwback Iron Man stuff. Was kind of geeked for Iron Man because of the movie.
Sure.
And this is the Iron Man that was in my wheelhouse from back when I was just a young lad.
If only they had put a Marvel Then logo on it.
That would have been sweet. Oh man, they missed out.
They really did.
That would have.
It's not Marvel now. It's Marvel Then.
Next up, we've got Justice League number 20. This looks like we've got Xander Cannon, Gene Han, a few other people filling in for Ivan Rice. This is basically, in the last issue, someone broke into the the Batcave.
Okay.
They stole Batman's kryptonite ring. Then we find out that it is Despero, which is bad news for everybody because Despero is kind of a badass.
Kind of.
And he attacks the Justice League, but the Justice League has added some new members, so they can actually apparently take on Despero pretty well. But yeah, it's kind of starting to tie in the New 52 with Batman has kind of secrets. And he's got in his Justice League, he's got files on everybody, and he knows
which he's always had.
He knows how to take everyone down, and they're really kind of introducing that concept to the New 52, which is pretty
steal
cool.
the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
Next up, we've got Unwritten. I am, as always, a little behind, but I did sort of catch up a little bit. Tommy's trekking through the land of the dead. He's found Lizzie Hexam. He's come across his father. And then at the end of the last issue, they find the devil, who bears a striking resemblance to somebody who we've seen in the book before. Again, okay. I'm behind. We've got the rabbit in here, so I'm not exactly sure exactly what's going on because I'm still about 2 issues behind. But I'll catch up sooner or later. Next up, we got Batman Incorporated number 11. This is a fill-in issue. It's written by Chris Burnham, who is normally the artist. It's drawn by Jorge Lucas. I guess they're giving Grant Morrison a little bit of time to finish up the big epic storyline that he started so many years ago. This is featuring the Batman of Japan, and Jorge Lucas has kind of a sort of a heavy Kirby-esque style. So it's weird seeing a Japanese Batman as drawn by Jack Kirby. Strange stuff. This is a strange book. Hopefully Grant Morrison's back soon. I believe they're going to do like an annual or a special after Grant Morrison leaves, but I think they're going to actually end the book because this really is his baby. And
right, there's no point to have that book if he's not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Batman. They're basically the Batman Incorporated, and it's associated with Wayne Industries, is kind of like falling apart because of all the stuff going on with Leviathan. But it's been good stuff.
Okay.
Next up, Superman number 20.
Great cover.
Yeah, great cover. We've got Superman versus Orion. With art by Aaron Cooter, who was the artist on Green Lantern: New Guardians.
Oh, okay.
Really nice stuff. It's got kind of a somewhat cartoony vibe in the kind of the style of what's his name, the guy that Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely.
Frank, yeah.
So
all I could think was the first name.
It's got a little bit of a Frank Quitely vibe. It's got Hector Hammond. It's got Wonder Woman. It's got Orion. Scott Lobdell is giving us...
Is that Hector Hammond? Has like Superman with a giant head.
Well, Hector Hammond is taking over Superman, and that's why he has
okay.
But, yeah, Scott Lobdell's been doing some good stuff. I mean, obviously...
Which I never thought I would hear anyone say ever.
There's some shake-ups going. I actually liked a lot of Lobdell stuff back on the X-Men books in the day.
All right.
But, yeah, it's better than it was. But next up, Red Lanterns number 20. This is... the end of of this run with Peter Milligan. This ties into the Wrath of the First Lanterns. This really kind of was really tangential to the Wrath of the First Lanterns. We do get Atrocitus' revenge. We do get some resolution with the human Red Lantern. This actually really did kind of turn out to be the weakest of the Lantern books. So I'm hoping with the new creative team, with Guy Gardner coming in as a Red Lantern, we're going to get some life breathed into the book because it kind of was a lot of Atrocitus moping around for a while.
That's what I heard. I hadn't been reading it myself.
Next up, Uncanny Avengers. This is number 8 AU, so it's an Age of Ultron tie-in. It looks like we've got Kang and the Apocalypse twins, and we're going to get a little bit more about that altered universe, I'm guessing, how it all ties in. Yeah, it looks like this is set in the revised timeline where Captain America is missing an eye and Tony Stark is some sort of weird AI. But yeah,
that's cool.
This is some good stuff. I've really been enjoying Age of Ultron.
As have I.
And these have been kind of fleshing out that story a little bit without making you without interrupting regular books. So this is, if you're not reading Age of Ultron but you like Uncanny Avengers, you don't need to get this.
Right.
If you're not getting Uncanny Avengers but you want to just sort of pad out the story, pick it up. Next up, Uncanny X-Men number 6. This is the second Bendis book with the X-Men. Basically, things are going haywire with magic. She had a big throwdown with Dormammu in the last issue. She's, I guess, the leader of Limbo, or the ruler of Limbo, or something. Okay. And her powers have gone kind of weird since all the stuff with the Phoenix Force. And so yeah, this is weird. It's going into kind of the magical realms, nether realms, the stuff you normally see Doctor Strange playing around with. But here we've got mutants versus magic users and stuff like that. So it's actually kind of fun. I was not expecting it to go in this direction, but I'm kind of glad that instead of just trotting out the same old X-Men villains, that they're actually bringing in villains from other parts of the Marvel Universe. I mean, I never really thought Dormammu versus Cyclops, but it's kind of a neat idea. Next up, Green Lantern New Guardians number 20. This is the last issue of the creative team on Green Lantern New Guardians. Again, this ties in with the the Wrath of the First Lantern. This looks like it's another epilogue issue. The last epilogue issue came out before the actual story ended, but now we get to see Kyle Rayner, who is a White Lantern now, and some of the other Guardians sort of picking up the pieces after all of this. This has been a really good book. I've actually enjoyed it. I like seeing the different lanterns, and Kyle Rayner was always my favorite lantern to begin with, so I've really been enjoying the book. So what's top?
Well, my top pick is kind of an interesting one. I liked the title, and the art looked kind of cool to me.
Great cover.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Half Past Danger #1 by IDW. The variant cover also has like a Nazi flag and dinosaurs, so it looks like it's some kind of World War II thing with dinosaurs and noirish qualities.
Interesting.
I'm not really sure. Like, this kind of looks like the War That Time Forgot a little bit here, but we're slowly getting into there. Some karate. I don't know what's going on, but it looked cool. It just looked neat, and again, it's titled Half Past Danger. That just sounded neat to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking at that one. I don't really know anything about it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet this morning, but, yeah, Half Past Danger, IDW.
My top is Green Lantern number 20. This is end of an era. This is the end of the Wrath of the First Lantern and Jeff Johns' last
How many years was he on that book?
9 years. It was nearly 10 years ago, 2004. This is a double-sized issue, square-bound. It's got art by Ethan Van Sciver, Ivan Reis, Patrick Gleason, Cully Hamner, Aaron Cooter, Jerry Ordway, Christian Alame, Mark Irwin, Mark Deering, and others. It's basically all the big artists that have been on volume 4 and 5 of Green Lantern. This has got some big stuff going on with Sinestro, some big stuff with the First Lantern. This is Jeff Johns' swan song. It really is the end of an era in many ways. Not only did Jeff Johns... I actually figured it out. He's done nearly 100 issues of Green Lantern, starting with Rebirth. So he's had the longest run, as far as I know, of anyone on a Green Lantern title. And relative to the rest of the market, it's the most successful run that there's ever been on a Green Lantern title. And, really, in a lot of ways, Green Lantern Rebirth set the style for the reinvention of the DC Universe that I think ultimately leads to the New 52.
Yeah.
So this really is kind of a landmark issue. I'm hoping it's a great issue. Jeff Johns has been doing a great job on this book overall. It's had highs and lows. The Wrath of the First Lanterns. Got some interesting changes for Sinestro coming along. But really, I've been looking forward to this book for a while. I'm sad to see Jeff Johns go. Who knows what's going to happen after this. Green Lantern's going to go back to being kind of a third-string character again. But for now, it looks like we're going to end on a high note with a great big double-sized battle issue with lots of cool art.
Very cool. Yeah, it looks kind of neat. It almost looks like a series finale kind of deal. Like, even just looking through the art there, like people hugging and some stuff going on. So
yeah, it's a good ending to what began with Green Lantern Rebirth.
And then hopefully the next creative team can come in and do something interesting. Now, there's one other thing I'd like to mention this week. Now, this isn't necessarily a new this week title, but it's new to us this week. Picked up a few copies of the Reincarnate trade paperback from Mike Morrissey this weekend. Mike Morrissey is one of the co-writers of Hoax Hunters. Yep. Great dude. This was a book that he had self-published, and the artwork looks really cool. It's Keith Burns is the artist. It almost has like a 90s feel to it. Like it's on paper, like real paper, and it looks really cool. So that might be something you want to check out. We've got a few copies sitting on the shelf, and Mike signed all of them.
Nice.
So, yeah, that is your Week in Geek.